Imagine for a moment that the entire period we call the Middle Ages just never happened. No Dark Ages, no Renaissance, no Industrial Revolution. Instead, imagine that life on Earth in the year 1000 AD was pretty much the same as it had been in the year 100. What would this world be like today? To answer this question, let's first take a look at what the Middle Ages actually were. In Europe, the Middle Ages are generally considered to have begun with the fall of the Roman Empire in the West in the 5th century AD. This was a period of great upheaval and change, not only in Europe, but throughout the world. With the collapse of one of the largest and most influential empires in history, power structures shifted and new ways of organizing society emerged. In Europe, these changes led to the formation of small, self-sufficient communities ruled by local lords and kings. The common people were largely peasants who lived on the land they worked. Life during this time was difficult and dangerous. There were frequent wars and battles between the various kingdoms and lords vying for power. Disease and famine were also common. Despite these hardships, some innovations did occur during this time. For example, the heavy plow allowed farmers to cultivate heavier soils and grow more food. This innovation, along with others, such as the watermill and the windmill, helped to increase productivity and improve the quality of life for some people. However, these innovations were often adopted slowly, and the pace of technological advancement was generally slow during this period. The Middle Ages lasted for over 1,000 years, ending in the 15th century with the beginning of the Renaissance. This period saw the rise of humanism, which was a renewed interest in classical art, literature, and culture. It also saw the start of the Age of Exploration, which began with the voyages of Christopher Columbus and other European explorers. These voyages led to the discovery of new lands and the establishment of new trade routes. The Renaissance and Age of Exploration laid the foundation for the Industrial Revolution, which began in the 18th century. This was a time of rapid technological advancement, particularly in Great Britain. The invention of new machines, such as the steam engine and the power loom, led to the mechanization of production and the growth of factories. The Industrial Revolution eventually spread to other parts of Europe and eventually the world. It led to major changes in how goods were produced and in the way people lived and worked. So now let's try to imagine what would happen if this entire period just never happened. If we disregard the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, and the Industrial Revolution, then we need to imagine that the year 1000 AD was pretty much the same as it is today. In this alternate timeline, there would be no large-scale societal changes brought on by the fall of the Roman Empire. Life would continue much as it had been with the Roman Empire in power. Rome had already begun to adopt many aspects of Greek culture long before its fall. So perhaps in this alternate timeline, they would continue to do so. Rome would become a center of Greek culture, art, and philosophy. Perhaps the Greek language would become more widespread. The Roman Empire would continue to expand and would reach its peak under the reign of Marcus Aurelius. In this alternate timeline, there would be no Dark Ages or Middle Ages. Instead, there would be a gradual transition from the classical period to the Renaissance. This would happen because of the continued adoption of Greek and Roman culture, rather than a revival of that culture that occurred in Italy in the 14th century. Furthermore, there would be no Industrial Revolution. In this timeline, since it was born out of the scientific and technological advancements of the Renaissance and Age of Enlightenment. Without those two periods, the Industrial Revolution would not take place. As a result, our world today would be vastly different. We would still be living in a world much like the one we know today. So we would have electricity and modern conveniences like indoor plumbing and air conditioning. Instead, we would likely be using oil and coal for energy. The world would be a much more industrialized place. Without the Middle Ages, there would be no feudalism and no manorial system. Instead, there would be a more direct democracy like the one the Romans had. This alternate world would be a strange mix of ancient and modern. The art and architecture would likely reflect the styles of both Greece and Rome, as well as the Victorian era. Overall, it would be a very different world than the one we live in today. If the Middle Ages had never happened, we would be living in a world much more advanced than the one we currently inhabit. We would have all the benefits of modern technology and none of the setbacks caused by the feudal system and other medieval institutions. It's a fascinating idea to consider, and it makes us wonder what might have been. But ultimately, it sets up to each individual to decide what they think might have happened if the Middle Ages had never taken place. So what do you think? How would the world be different today if the Middle Ages had never happened? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching Parallelish. I'm Nova, your guide through the unknown. Want to explore more timelines? Tap the playlist above and keep diving into the what-ifs. Until next time, stay curious.